We're here at the Boardman Performance Centre, which is an entirely new facility here in Evesham, Worcestershire, and we're not sure what we're going to find, so we're going to head this way and find out. So we're now inside the Boardman Performance Centre with Mr. Chris Boardman, who I hope will tell us, what's this all about, Chris?
Well, it's something that's been going on for a quarter of a century in a way. The first time I ever experienced a wind tunnel was with Lotus back in 1991, and we went into the Myra tunnel in Birmingham, and it was kept in an old aircraft hangar, and it was -10 because it sucked in air from outside, -10 with wind chill. And the bike was just wired to an ergometer that was used for testing trucks. So it was like measuring peas on bathroom scales. But even that experience, just a couple of goes there, pretty much put me a decade ahead of anybody else in understanding aerodynamics, and I used that in my career. Then I forgot about it, came back with the Secret Squirrel Club, ran that for 10 years for British Cycling, spent up to a week a month in wind tunnels, and we realised just how absolutely critical that aero knowledge was. 90% of your energy is pushing wind out of the way, and yet, so we measure pulse to the beat, we measure power to the watt, and then for aero understanding we read articles in magazines, and that's it. It's just ludicrous, but it's really hard to make that knowledge available to people. And I sat down with an aerodynamicist who I was working with over a curry, and we said, wouldn't it be good if we could make this available to the masses for an affordable, he pointed at his plate and said, an affordable cost, you know, a disposable income that I can afford to spend on my leisure. And it set us thinking about what we needed and what we didn't need. We don't need to do 100 miles an hour, we don't need a rolling road, and we designed a cycling specific wind tunnel based on all the knowledge and all the problems we'd had for 10 years of testing, 20,000 tests we performed. All that knowledge went into building this place, and we've managed to make it accessible. And it's the most exciting thing I've ever done.
So when you talk about the various aspects of performance, what specifically are we talking about? You've mentioned the wind tunnel, of course, which is probably the centrepiece of the centre.
Yeah, it is. It's physically, it is literally and emotionally, it is the heart of the centre, and we'll have a look in a bit, but it's huge. So that's what the uniqueness about this. But we knew from the start that performance is, it's more than that. Although aero is critical, it's more than that. It's about physiology, it's about bike fit, it's about understanding your own capabilities. So the main thing I wanted this place to be, and I mentioned the word accessible, is somebody can walk through the front door into an awesome bike shop. And it is a bike shop, it's an awesome bike shop. And there's a bike there for a few £100 that they can ride to the shops on. And that's something close to my own heart, they can do that. Or they can come in and say, do you know what? I got drunk at the weekend and agreed to do a sportif. I need to sort myself out. So we go, well, tell you what, let's sort you out on the right size of bike and we'll get you started. So even that level. And if they come back and say, right, I rode this sportif, I really like it, I want to see if I can go quicker, we go, come upstairs to where we are now. Let's have a look at where you are physically. We'll just run a basic physiology test, health check, whatever you want to call it, and see where you are. Again, we're going to be looking at that soon. So we've got that physiology suite where we can look at that. I'm having a bit of backache. Okay, let's really look in depth at the biomechanics of your bike positioning. So we can tailor it and tailor it and tailor it. We can go in the wind tunnel and you can have a taster session and you can just have a go and see what you think. Or we can service Olympic, pro team level riders, Tour de France level riders here. Any level of, and with the staff we have here, the knowledge that we've got, their credentials, they can deliver that service on any level.
So we're at the first element. This is the biomechanics section. What can we expect here, Chris?
So you've looked at the shop area and you've got somebody's come in and they want to take it a bit further than just make sure I've got the right size of bike. So this is the first room that we bring them to where we have a look at your position. So it is, we can just have a really good positioning session here. It lasts up to 3 hours if we want it, so a real good level of service. Or somebody can come here who's a professional level and has got a particular injury, and we've got qualified staff in here that will be able to identify that injury and work out the right things to do. We've also got a women's specific approach in here as well, so we've got a high level of expertise, but rather than me telling you about it, you should probably go and have a look.
Let's check it out. So I arrive here, and I walk in. What are you going to do?
So this biomechanics is all about positioning someone on the bike. So first of all, we're going to have a period of time with someone, understanding their background, what their aims and objectives are, and any particular issues they have. And then we're very quickly getting through an assessment and some off-bike assessments, some on-bike assessments as well, to establish what they're currently doing. And then depending on the needs, we're going to really use our equipment and technologies, as well as our knowledge obviously, to put some assessments in place to understand what their issues are, where we can help them, where they can optimise, and then we'll start fine-tuning their bike position from the feet right up to the top in all aspects.
So you've got various tools at your disposal in here to assess people. Can you talk us through this one, please?
Yeah, so this particular bit of kit we're using here is instrumented pedals. They're made by a company in Slovenia, 4-ped. They're a little bit different to your standard kind of power measuring pedals, in the sense that they've got strain gauges in which measure the force in 3 directions. They're measuring at 500 hertz. They're highly instrumented. They're many thousands of pounds for these, so a very high quality precision piece of kit. And what they're doing is it's enabling us to look at the force profile of the force that's inputted at the pedal itself.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can see the breakdown of force in the forward direction, the downwards direction, but also laterally as well. So we can start to look at mechanical efficiency. So how much of the force and effort that we're putting into the pedals actually gets converted to the power output we might see on a power meter. And that can vary from anything from really about 30% to 70%. And people are completely unaware of it. So we can base our position and technique on that number, and we know what people need to do to improve that number. So from an easy performance, it's like free wattage basically.
Right, so we've had a look at biomechanics and everything that we needed to do in there. So we looked at somebody's position. If we've got somebody who wants to say, right, I'm riding the Sportive and I want to know where I'm at physically, so can you help me out? This is the next room that you go into, physiology.
So what can we expect to gain from these guys in here?
Well, you can have a basic health check, and in a moment we can go in and the experts again will talk you through it. But you can have your basic health check, just see what's my fitness like, or you can go all the way through to full-on physiology testing for Tour de France level athletes. And it is state-of-the-art equipment with experts that are well known throughout the country in this area, so it's pretty cool.
Let's go meet them.
I know you guys have looked at the Biomechanics suite next door, which is all, I guess the cliche is that's about the chassis and this is about the engine. Okay. So really we sort of treat this place with our athlete, we're looking at exercise testing as our kind of main investigation here. But really this is about exercise capacity, fitness to produce power on the bike, fitness to ride. And we are trying to get it effectively inside the body here to measure how your body is producing that performance.
So can you maybe tell us what we've got on the screen here?
Turn around this way. So we're using, the ergometer here is the Watt bike, and we've got this hooked up so the rider can see a live visualization of actually this is their pedaling stroke. So what you've got is the left and the right pedal, and looking at how the force is being produced around the pedal stroke. So it's a bit more of a biomechanical analysis that you saw next door.
Sure.
We could delve into further detail of that if you saw with somebody who maybe has a real specific limitation in their performance. Metaphorically and quite literally, the heartbeat of this lab, this is our cardio-respiratory analysis. So the measurements on here looks like lots of squiggly lines, but these are the key metrics to look at. The heart rate in beats per minute, ventilation in litres per minute, the amount of air we're turning in and out, how your lungs are pulling in air, and most importantly, the amount of oxygen you're using, which is all, that will go up as the intensity goes up to a limit, which we know as our VO2 max, which is kind of the classic mark of endurance fitness. And we would do a test, this is low intensity for Tom now, but we'd do a test where the power would go up, the heart rate would go up, and the VO2 would go up, and then we can say you can find your maximum aerobic capacity, and that's our key metric we'll be pulling from that. And everything else on here, there's a lot of data, we're collecting this on a breath by breath basis through the apparatus here.
Yeah.
And we can get an insight from these numbers combined to see how effective your heart and lungs are working to support your exercise. So it's a real diagnostic tool for us to understand where there might be a limiting step in the chain from the air that you breathe in at the mouth, how your heart pumps that, the blood around the body, how the lungs pick up the oxygen, and how your muscles are using it.
So, we've been through the biomechanics, we've been through the physiology, we've got some recommendations on what we're going to do next. How do we know what works?
Well, exactly. I mean, bike fit, if you've got an injury, if you're just starting out, you need information on that. But after that point, when somebody says this is a better position, how do you know? Well, you know if you've got one of these places. You bring it in here and you try them out and you see how much faster you go. So this is the heart of the building, as we said. This is the wind tunnel. It's called an open return tunnel. So we've got the fan down there. It's a 100 horsepower, 70 odd kilowatt fan that sucks air through a huge screen in the background, way in the distance.
Huge.
It is huge, yeah. And then that conditions the flow. We'll probably be putting extra screens in there as well to settle the flow, get it nice and straight. And then this contraction, a bit like a river, makes it go faster to the speed that we want. So we're standing in the test section. And the important thing about this tunnel, why it's an open return, is we can stand around it. So you would be almost out of the flow now completely, while the cyclist is on the test rig here on the ergometer, is in the flow. So you can talk to them. And if we yaw this, so this whole floor moves, and actually while we're talking, I'll actually see if we can get that done in the control room. This floor moves to simulate crosswinds, and we go up to 30 degrees, which no other tunnel in the world does, because cycling is relative to aircraft and it's a very low speed sport. So we experience high degrees of crosswind. So if you have walls either side, so you've got a bit of fan coming up in the background there, you start to feel the airflow through, you would have a blockage. So if you've got walls either side, when you're like this, you're creating a blockage. So the data you're getting isn't correct, because you don't have a blockage in the real world. So that's why we designed it in this way, off the experience that we've got. So you can see that the floor's yawing now. This used to take us 10 minutes to do when where we tested with the British team, unbolt the floor, sort it all out, put it back next to the pen mark that said the degree that we want, put it all back again. So now we can do that automatically. Even mid-test, we can start to look at all the different wind angles.
Sure. And in terms of giving feedback to the athlete, what happens there?
Well, we've got on the floor just behind me here, this is all the live data being fed back real time in a language that the athlete chooses. So they might want it time saved over an event. So the first thing we do in here is just get them in a position and they go, right, that's me. So that's my benchmark. And then everything else we can look at, is it better, is it worse than that? So we can give them that information live on the floor here. The cameras, we've got HD cameras, one off to the side, one above us, one back in the nose of the fan, and one upstream. So those live images are coming to them as well. And all those cameras, because this is a dedicated facility for cycling, stay exactly in the same place. So if you want to compare a file now to 3 years in the future, you can do that, and they will always be comparable with each other. So most tunnels where you're coming in, use the place, and then it's got cars in next, you can't do that. So that all those elements of dedication are really, really helping us out.
They get the feedback from the guys here. They get their position optimised. What happens then?
So you're looking here, I think what the term that I've used is really important is these three services together allow you to make, I know the term optimise is very popular, but it allows you to make an informed decision, because there will always be compromise. So we come in from the physiology lab and the biomechanics lab and go, right, we've looked at these three positions, and the expert has told me these look these look where it should be. So you come in here and you try those three positions and you go, actually, this one is fractionally slower, but it's much more comfortable, so I'm going to choose that one. So you can make an informed decision, not necessarily always the lowest drag, but the one that best suits your needs, because you're the best sensor, you know how you feel, and so you're in the position to make that informed decision. But you can only do that if you've got the information.
Okay, so we've had the tour of the facilities on offer. When the consumer, when me as a rider, I've finished going around, what am I going to go away with from here?
I mean, funky is my new word, and I think that describes the place, and I absolutely love it. And I love the fact that if you've come in as somebody who's just starting out, you can have fun, you've got friendly staff, and it's a fascinating experience. You come in and you're riding the Tour de France, you go away with equally well informed. But that's the key of it, the crux of it for me, is you'll go away and you'll know more about yourself. You know more about yourself from a physiological perspective, you'll know about your position on the bike and why you're riding in that position, and you'll have chosen, be it a compromise from aerodynamic and comfort or just comfort, whatever it is, and going in the wind tunnel, just getting information about what it actually means to have that jersey zipped up or not, pulling your elbows in, putting your head down, that type of wheels, all that information is available to you. And that's what we're trading here, really. We're selling, a bit cliche, but we're selling curiosity. And I guarantee you that you will walk away from here with masses more knowledge and masses more questions, because that's what I found for a decade in wind tunnels and working in these places, is it just sparks off curiosity, a passion and an interest in going faster and why you go faster.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for showing us around, and
Thank you.
all the best with it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. I hope you found that as fascinating as I did. For more information on Boardman bikes, go to www.boardmanbikes.com, and if you liked our video, please subscribe to road.cc on YouTube here.